Imagine this. The year is 1622. We're in a stuffy Portuguese colonial hall in Luanda, what is now Angola. The Portuguese governor is lounging on an ornate throne, waiting. He's here to negotiate with the neighboring kingdom of Nzinga. But when the African delegation enters, the air crackles with tension. The ambassador is a woman, Princess Nzinga. The Portuguese, in a calculated show of disrespect, have offered her no chair. Only a simple mat on the floor. The message is clear. Kneel before us. But Nzinga doesn't flinch. She doesn't kneel. Instead, she turns to her entourage and snaps her fingers. Without a word, one of her servants gets down on all fours. Creating a human throne, Nzinga sits gracefully on her servant's back. Now, at eye level with the stunned governor, the room falls silent. In that moment, the Portuguese realize they are not dealing with an ordinary diplomat. They are dealing with a queen. This is the story of Nzinga Mbande, the queen who refused to kneel. Born around 1583, Nzinga's destiny was foretold from birth. Legend says her umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck, a sign in Bantu tradition that she would grow up proud and defiant. Her father, the king, recognized her fierce intellect and broke with tradition, training her personally in military tactics, diplomacy, and statecraft skills unheard of for a woman at the time. But her path wasn't easy when her brother, Mbande, took the throne in 1617. He saw Nzinga's brilliance not as an asset, but as a threat to his power. In a brutal move to secure his reign, he allegedly had Nzinga's young son killed and forced her to be sterilized, attempting to sever her line from the throne forever. Yet, even in his paranoia, Mbande was weak. The Portuguese were raiding their lands, enslaving thousands of their people, and he was powerless to stop them. He desperately needed Nzinga's diplomatic genius. He sent her the very sister he had tried to break to negotiate peace. It was during these negotiations that she first sat on her human throne, and she made a deal. Nzinga agreed to convert to Christianity and be baptized as Ana de Souza, a strategic move to gain leverage and appear compliant. But Nzinga was playing a much longer game. This was just the opening move. By 1624, her brother, King Mbande, was dead under circumstances that historians still describe as mysterious. Nzinga didn't waste a moment. She seized power, but she didn't just declare herself queen. She claimed the title of Angola, a title traditionally reserved only for male rulers. She was signaling that she was not just a regent, she was a king in her own right. The Portuguese, of course, refused to recognize her authority. That was their first mistake. This is where her story becomes legendary. Nzinga didn't just fight the Portuguese with diplomacy, she met them on the battlefield. She dressed as a man, wielding an axe and a bow, leading her troops from the front. She understood that to defeat a powerful enemy, she needed powerful allies. So she married a fierce Mbangala warlord, not for love, but to gain access to his battle-hardened warriors. With her new army, she didn't just defend her homeland. She went on the offensive, conquering the neighboring kingdom of Matamba and forging it into her own independent power base. But what she did next was truly revolutionary. She declared Matamba a sanctuary, a free state for all Africans escaping slavery. Thousands, fleeing the brutal Portuguese plantations, found refuge under her protection. Her war wasn't just about territory, it was a war of liberation. She was building a nation of the free, right under the nose of a global empire. For the next 4 decades, Queen Nzinga waged a relentless war against the Portuguese Empire. She was a master of unconventional warfare, pioneering guerrilla tactics centuries before the term even existed. Her army would strike fast and disappear into the dense Angolan landscape. They ambushed convoys, cut supply lines, and used their knowledge of the terrain to outmaneuver the technologically superior Europeans. She trained her soldiers, both men and women, to be as swift adaptable, and deadly force, in 1641, she spotted a new opportunity. The Dutch, rivals of the Portuguese, captured the port of Luanda. Nzinga immediately forged an alliance with them. Together, their combined forces came incredibly close to driving the Portuguese out of Angola for good. At the Battle of Angola in 1644, her army personally delivered a crushing defeat to a major Portuguese force. She was winning, but victory came at a terrible personal cost. The Portuguese managed to capture her sisters, who had been acting as her spies within their territory. To punish Nzinga and break her spirit, they drowned her favorite sister, Fungi, in the Kwanza River. The loss was devastating, but it didn't break her. It fueled her resolve. Nzinga kept fighting. Now, here's the twist that solidifies her legend. By 1648, the tide turned. The Portuguese, with reinforcements from Brazil, recaptured Luanda. The Dutch, seeing their fortunes change, abandoned Angola and their alliance with Nzinga. Suddenly, she was isolated. She was in her mid-60s, surrounded, outgunned, and facing the full might of one of the world's most powerful empires. Any other leader would have surrendered. It was the only rational choice. But Queen Nzinga was not rational. She was remarkable. She did not surrender. Instead, she negotiated from a position of strength. For 8 more years, she held them off until finally, in 1656, she forced the Portuguese to sign a peace treaty. A treaty that recognized her as the legitimate ruler of her kingdom, Matamba. She had won her sovereignty. The woman they expected to kneel on a floor mat decades earlier died peacefully in her bed in 1663, at the age of 80, as an independent and unconquered queen. Today, Queen Nzinga is celebrated as Angola's greatest national hero during the country's war for independence from Portugal in the 20th century. Freedom fighters chanted her name. You can find statues of her, streets named after her, and her face on Angolan currency. But here's the truly shocking part of her legacy. For centuries, her story was deliberately downplayed or erased by colonial historians. Why? Because the story of a black African woman who strategically, militarily, and diplomatically outmaneuvered a European empire for 40 years simply didn't fit their narrative of supremacy. The queen who sat on a human throne taught the world a timeless lesson. Power is never given freely. It is taken. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as incredible as we did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.